Welcome back to another podcast, Tutorials, that is. That's Jordan. I'm JD. And today, Jordan, we're diving in. We're going to squash.
That's the right word.
A couple more. Yeah.
That's the agreed upon. That's the agreed upon word.
Smash. I've said, whatever. Yeah. All right. We're going to dive in. Let's just see here
what we're talking about today. I don't know what we're talking about.
I just shuffled the cards. I didn't want to do. I just want to go right to this one.
Okay.
So first one.
What?
Why should help me out? What should be my stack cap position on any brisket cook?
Or any cook.
Not why. Or any cook.
And is that the backyard or is that the commercial answer?
Tennessee education. This is the backyard.
Okay.
What should be my stack cap position on a brisket cook or any cook?
Well,
good question. Thanks for writing it in. You can email Jordan at the email below or me. Doesn't matter. We get them. We print them out. No. And when we first started this, we didn't have anything to squash. Now I got a list of squashables.
Yeah. So on the backyard, being that I have only ever cooked at weather above 30, high 30s and above, I've only ever run it wide open.
You're kind of new to this.
I'm new to the backyard. I'm just like you guys. I am new to this.
Do you have a scenario where you would close the stack cap down?
I would assume, from what you were telling me, whether that's in the teens or below, just to help create the stack to get hot and to help make draw better.
So the whole idea with the stack is it's an exhaust.
Yeah.
Formerly known. There's a cap that goes on top of it, and the cap keeps rain out.
Right.
At the same time, there's a lot of idea in stick burning about having dual control. I had a pit one time. I was taught you got to dual control. You got to open the firebox damper a little bit and shut this down, and you kind of dial it to where it's right. What a confusing technique.
I don't think it's a good one. I think the least amount of variables you have, the better barbecue.
Absolutely.
With the science being correct, not just because you have less variables, you're making better barbecue. No, when you have a pit that's already designed to cook right, and you know that the least amount of variables make better barbecue.
I think in the backyard, it's a pretty unneeded variable. Mm-hmm. Michael disagrees with me on our Facebook fans page. And he's right. You can move around the environment in the pit, right. But I think
also do it in the way you run your splits. And when I'm cooking on the backyard, I run it wide open, and I can choose how fast I want my draw to be on the stack by the way I run my fires.
Right. By speeding them up,
and slowing it down.
Speed them up, slowing them down.
Right.
And you can go watch the fire management video on the Tutorials channel here.
And during that whole time, I keep the stack at the right temperature for draw. And I don't want to keep extra smoke inside of that smaller chamber. If you put the cap on there, you're going to keep more smoke in there. And you're trying to get it out.
I think this is a subjective matter. You can keep your stack open. Now, for a brisket cook, it's really any protein. I mean, just because you have a brisket, the coloring and bark that happens, you have plenty enough potential just to leave the stack open. So the stack, it's kind of subjective, really learning about the stack. We had this, I won't bore everybody with the details, or maybe I will. We stuck these probes down the stack and ran the fire for 15 hours of fire. And figured out, of course, the longer the cook goes, the more the heat rises up the stack.
Right.
The permanent heat, we called it. And that's the permanent. There's an area. It's just like diving into a lake or jumping into a lake. You'll feel that little cold zone.
Yeah.
Well, that happens in a stack where the pressure is made, and that is, to me, needs to be higher as the cook goes on, not lower. When it rains, or let's go for an example in 2000. I'm just guessing 23. Yeah, I think it was 23. I had some holidays in the Christmas holiday that worked out where we weren't open, and I cooked, and it didn't get hotter than 10 or colder than 10 degrees.
Yeah,
and it
didn't get warmer than 10 degrees.
Thank you. It didn't get warmer than 10 degrees
outside temperature.
Outside, And when I started cooking, it was 4 or 5 degrees a couple days. And I was cooking briskets. I closed my stack down, and that was all based upon no rules. I just kind of was watching the pit and said, well, it's got a little bit cold air back pressure. Mm-hmm. Had nothing to do with the wind. It just was a fact that we were getting cold air in there. So there is an instance where you're going to run into, you might want to shut the stack down a quarter way or half. Just you're making the diameter, a little smaller.
Right.
Just choking a little bit.
And commercially, it's different because the diameter of the stack is so big that it creates no back pressure in the pit, and you close down the stack half to 3/4 to create back pressure in the pit, and you have to have that finishing food. And
the pit's, a commercial 1000 is 20 feet long. It's 16 foot of chamber. That's a lot of volume.
It's a lot.
And you've got a lot of hot air that's got to escape. So squashing this, I think it's subjective. It doesn't really matter what the protein you're cooking. It's just kind of what the ambient temperature is outside. You might have to crack your stack down a quarter turn in 80-degree temperature. I don't know. I just never have.
At the end of the day, if you're making a great brisket with it closed a quarter of the way, keep doing it.
I think the idea that we're trying to speak about is variables, removing them in an offset cook in the backyard. It's really important to remove as many variables and don't add variables. Right. There's plenty of thousands of variables already. I mean,
definitely as you're cooking, don't be adjusting this and adjusting this. If you're gonna close it a little bit, set it, and don't mess with it.
20 years ago, I had a pit, and that was the whole idea. You're supposed to be moving both of them to kind of find the spot. And I was like, man, this is you're. I mean, if I get this one wrong and this one right, it's still wrong. Right. If I get this one wrong and this one right, or vice versa, whatever, you just end up with adding problems to the cook. So keep your stack open on most of the traditional backyard offsets.
For sure.
Don't know anything about the big box, cheaper offsets, but we squashed that one. Thanks for the question. And I missed. Thanks for letting me introduce you to the highly coveted Workhorse Pits Offset Smoker. It's a premium offset smoker that's been shipped across the globe since 2019. We build 3 different models, the 1957, the 1969, and our largest, the 1975. All 3 come on casters or a wagon package. You can also purchase the 1975 on a trailer. Find all of these smokers at workhorsepits.com. It's great barbecue we're after. I'm gonna make every one of them from here. Next topic, Jordan. I'll let you read it since I'm having trouble reading.
Does the firebox need to be positioned for when to get in?
Good question. And that may be a question people are like, no. Well, let's answer.
So that's kind of does it need to be positioned for when to get in? I'm trying to keep wind out of my firebox.
Yeah. Wind has nothing to do with, now you could argue it does have something to do if it's going right over your stack. But then again, I used to think the wind had a lot to do with it. And then I started seeing the science.
I'd rather cook in rain all day long than have a super windy day.
Yeah.
I hate wind playing disc golf, and I hate it cooking barbecue.
I knew you'd get disc golf.
I knew I will plug the disc golf.
Yep. So in your philosophy or technique, if it's a windy day, wouldn't you turn your firebox to where if the wind is blowing, say, towards our microphones, you'd want to have your firebox kind of opposite of that?
It's blowing towards?
If your chambers, here we go. If this is the chamber, this is the firebox.
Yeah.
And the wind is blowing this direction.
Yeah.
I would want my firebox against the wind.
Yeah.
I'd
like that one song?
Like the one song.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to control the air intake. I don't need wind. Wind is going to cause your fire to spike inaccurately.
And go cray-cray. I don't like it.
It's going to go completely off the chains when you're trying to manage the fire. Right. So if your firebox is here and you have a direct wind going into your bow tie,
right,
or whatever your exchange of air intake is,
right,
that causes problems.
Right. And it can be kind of dangerous with blowing
embers
and stuff towards your chamber.
Cooking in wind is definitely a bigger challenge, but you don't really, the wind is not an ingredient.
No, it's a nuisance.
But the airflow that happens in a pit, pulling it in. I've seen people take smoke, and put it right next to the firebox, and it's a foot away from the firebox, and it just gets pulled in.
Yeah.
It's because you have a small pressure vessel. It's not a high pressure vessel. It's a low pressure vessel, but it's still getting pulled in.
Mm-hmm.
So
everybody that I know that cooks barbecue, their biggest enemy is wind.
So no need to position your firebox towards the wind where it's blowing directly into the firebox. Don't do that. Keep your firebox kind of shielded from the wind if it's a windy day.
Or Against the Wind. If you can't remember, think about Against the Wind by Bob Seger. Is that a Bob Seger song?
Bob Seger. Here we go. We've squashed that one. We're moving pretty quick today, Jordan.
I know.
It's basketball season. No look off the glass. You heard it right there.
You heard it.
All right. So last one. I've got a phone ringing here in the distance. I'm having trouble with my fire stalling at lower cook temps under 240. Now, this was not a message. This was a promise to a comment we would address. There was a comment. I'm having trouble with my fire stalling at lower cooking temps under 240. So lower cooking temperatures, they're struggling with stalling. I understand the direction of this potential question because the comment was in one of the YouTubes or wherever it was, one of the videos. And the main idea for cooking at low temperatures is you still need a heavy coal bed.
Right.
I've seen this over and over and over on social media. People excited about cooking barbecue. They're lighting their smoker up, and they have such a beautiful fire going on, and they're cooking barbecue on a Saturday morning. But there's absolutely no coals and embers.
Right.
And the thought of it is, and you disagree or agree, you got a little fire in there because you want lower temperatures.
No. If you just have a bed of coals, like a really healthy bed of coals in there, it's going to want to hold about 225. That's just a kind of a place that they go. But when you start adding wood and slowing down your airflow, it starts drawing a little differently.
Let's build an environment that will prevent this. Number one, wood. If you can get your wood under 20%, over 25% is going to be a mess. And there's no really method that you can dry it out. I know people put wood on their firebox, guilty. Don't know why I did that, because when I started to realize that it dries it out maybe 1%. I've had wood where I've been lazy and I haven't gotten it ready for the smoker.
Right.
And all of a sudden I'm going to cook. I'm busy. I got a pretty busy day job. All of a sudden, okay, I'm going to cook a day or two. My boys will go out there. We'll split some wood. I'll hit the moisture meter. It's 35%. I'm like, I'll just throw it on top of the firebox. But if you take it, put it in a chop saw and cut off 3 or 4 inches and put the moisture meter back on, it's 33, 34%. After sitting there, it's smoldering almost on fire. It's still wet inside. So getting rid of wet wood is one of the huge components of helping you not stall.
Yeah. That's a good starting point.
Good starting point.
Start out with good seasoned wood, and then having a really nice coal bed to light said splits. And then your airflow, if you have your stack cap too shut and you're barely seeping smoke out, that could create no draw on your pit. If you have it wide open, you have a better chance of having better draw. Backyards. This is a backyard cooker. Then it's all about how do you have your wood oriented and how are you letting air in. And that's the easiest way. Have a healthy coal bed, wood orientation, and air intake. I don't know. There's just so many different ways. I would just say start out with a really healthy coal bed and making sure you have airflow underneath your wood. That's not too great of airflow, but just enough to keep it to the temperatures you want.
So if we're cooking at 200 degrees, we've got a brisket on.
One split ain't going to do it.
We're post secondary acclimation, we call it. We've got our brisket in there, and we want to cook it at 200 degrees. One of the things we're going to have is dry wood.
Right.
Second thing is we're going to make sure we have a really nice ember bed and we're not smothering our wood. The third thing is we're going to do is make sure we have plenty enough air intake to ignite the wood and let it go for 3 or 4 minutes. Watch the fire management video. If you're stumped on something, it's typically going to be the airflow needs to really get in that fire until it's really going. And then 4 or 5 minutes after it's going, then you can start to shut the damper down.
They may be letting everything burn completely down and you start losing that momentum. Then they're putting wood back on there, and it's hard to get your wood to catch and stuff. When you
Can I use my merry-go-round?
Yeah,
I've already used my merry-go-round.
Yeah.
So a man named Freddie back in the 90s, I didn't understand fire management, and I was probably way beyond the questions of stalls and all that. I just didn't understand fire management. And he said, it's like a merry-go-round. You know, somebody gets on the merry-go-round, you're spinning them around, and if you walk away, they're going to come to a stop. And he goes, fire management is you want them to kind of not come to a stop and still have some momentum and going around, but they're slowing down. And then you give them another couple turns and then they're going back again. And that is the best analogy I've ever had for fire management. And to this day, I've used that for it graduated me to another level the next time I cooked.
And here's another part that I just thought of. When you're spinning them, they get to spinning at the speed, your desired speed. And if you let the thing start slowing down, it takes more of your physical energy to spin it.
Right.
And if you catch it at the right moment, you don't have to use as much energy to spin it. Same thing with putting that wood on for the next burn.
Do you think it's hotter or do you think it's hotter? Do you think it's easier to cook at lower temperatures, say 200 to 225, or easier to cook at 275 to 300? As far as fire management goes, and just the topic of fire management.
It's probably harder to cook at lower temperatures because once you're up at like 275 and stuff, your coal bed's so good, you can start putting wood on and it catches so. But your reaction time is so much faster. Your margin of errors goes way up. You get in the cooking danger zone where if you walk away, 275 could be 325. Usually at the lower temperature, you don't have to deal with that. And a lot of the newer cooks don't have very good experience with building coals at lower temperatures. So it is harder for me to cook at lower temperatures because sometimes your wood doesn't catch the way you want it to. You're not regenerating coals at the right rate, and it gets frustrating. And the hotter you get in that cook, the easier it is to catch wood and hold.
You can also have an obstruction in your air intake. You could have a split that didn't burn down all the way that may have fallen down, and you wouldn't think anything about it, but it's actually blocking the airflow, kicking it up, sending it over the fire.
Yeah.
And if you're stalling under 240, take note of what we just talked about here in this episode, especially with the airflow, the moisture of wood, and making sure that your coals aren't going too far. I think we mentioned that. Sometimes the timing of we called it the Ferris wheel. What do we call this thing?
Merry-go-round.
Merry-go-round. Already forgot Freddie's analogy. You may be letting it come to a complete stop. You need to have some energy and momentum still.
You don't want it. You take a lot of energy of yourself to spin somebody on a merry-go-round. When it's time to start spinning them again, I want them to already have the energy to where I don't have to spin as hard. And if you let them come to a complete stop, it takes so much of your energy to get that thing started again. Same thing with putting the wood on. When it's time to put more wood on, I would rather have the momentum and put that wood on to keep that cycle going.
Makes sense.
Right.
Well,
that Freddie guy knew what he was talking about. That's brilliant.
That was back in the 90s.
That is brilliant.
He was a dog trainer. Look at that. 2 for 3 today.
Shout out Freddie.
Yeah, find him. Well, want to thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you.